The organization has been a place where I have met so many friends over the years, friends, mentors, sponsors. It has provided me with opportunities for honing in on leadership and doing things that I really don't think I would have been able to do if I had not been involved.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Women Leaders in Psychiatry podcast by the American Psychiatric Association's Women Psychiatrists Caucus. I am Dr. Anjali Gupta, President of the Women Psychiatrists Caucus, and I will be interviewing women psychiatrists across the country who lead in a variety of ways so that we can hear their stories and learn from their insights. Today, I have the pleasure of being here with Dr. Theresa Miskimen Rivera. She is Clinical Professor of Psychiatry at Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. Her list of roles served for professional societies is pages long, but the one that we're going to focus on today is her current role as President of the American Psychiatric Association. Thank you, Theresa, for being here.
Well, thank you, Anjali. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here today. And I really appreciate the kind invitation to share my thoughts.
So let's start out with what drew you to psychiatry and then more specifically addiction psychiatry.
First of all, let me say that thank you for doing this podcast because I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us to learn from each other. And how is it that we got to where we were? Our stories are very different. Hey, I've been listening to the podcast for a while, and I know how different it is. But at the end of the day, it's about making sure that we hear our stories and take away what we can and what serves us. So
Yeah.
thank you for doing this. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. I think, look, the idea behind the podcast is really, I think that it's important to amplify women's stories. And I think that sharing those stories is really important. It's a collective form of mentorship. So that you learn not only from your own supervisor and mentor, but from the women before you and the women around you that carve these paths. So that's really how this podcast got started.
Well, thank you for that. And your first question is, so how did I get here? And I think that I got to start off with where I'm from, right? So I'm from
Yeah.
Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. As you well said, I'm Miskimen Rivera. So my dad is actually from Ohio. My mom is born and raised in Puerto Rico, but they met in Puerto Rico doing this project. And long story short, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. And from a very early on, I was very interested in science. I thought I was going to be a marine biologist at first. Hey, I'm in an island and I'm interested in science. And my major in school, in college, was actually biology. So for a long time, I thought, yep, this is going to be me. I'm going to be a marine biologist, and that's it. But then during college years, I started taking anatomy, genetics specifically. Those two classes really opened another whole world for me. And I ended up then going to med school in Puerto Rico. And when the opportunity came, I then accepted a residency position in New Jersey. And it was a path that was, the outcome was really because of that interrelationship between what you do in your life and how it's really focused in your family. So what ended up happening, how I got to United States to New Jersey, is that my husband had a job in New Jersey, and I said, "Oh yeah, you have to take that job. It's a really good job. Go to it." And one thing led to another, and in order for us to be together, then I had to move out of Puerto Rico and into New Jersey. And I thought for a long time that we would go back, but it didn't work out that way. So it just one thing led to the other. Our careers started to blossom. Thank goodness, right? That we had that privilege of having the careers blossom. And I stayed on, and here I am, 30 plus years later, connections in Puerto Rico, but I'm definitely in United States.
It sounds like when you came, you thought it was going to be temporary.
hmm Not only that, I think that after I did my residency, and my husband and I were talking about, okay, so what are the next steps? And it turns out that I was offered a position in academic center right after my fellowship, my residency, and we decided that this was a really good opportunity for me. So it was one of those times in which you're like, well, yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna stay. This is really good for your career. Let's go with it. And looking back, one of the things that, and I have two kids, and one of the things that I'm very grateful is for that role of my family. So I know how difficult it is for some people not to have that support, and having my family really live in Puerto Rico, so it was hard. So I thought it was going to be permanent because I really wanted to be back with my family in Puerto Rico. So it was hard. And having that family support was really important and helpful. One of the things that I mentor, residents and fellows specifically, as you are moving along and you have to make that decision, leaving where you are from or leaving your home state or your home country, um, to make sure that you have that family support as much as possible. If it's available, I think that that has been instrumental for me personally.
So when you say have that family support, because they're in Puerto Rico, do you mean supporting that decision that
Mm-hmm.
you're coming to the United States?
Yep. And it's funny because a lot of my family has moved into the United States. Now, it's easier for us. We're in close proximity of mainland USA. We have citizenship, so I know, and that's why we were talking about it's different stories, right? So everybody has their own path. How did they get to United States, and what are the opportunities and the barriers and challenges? So for me personally, it was a challenge of leaving family behind, and that vacuum that is created. And the fact that they were like, yep, you got to do this, go for it, was important to me personally. And I one of the things that I do when I mentor, especially people that are coming from outside of mainland USA, is how to navigate that, how to ensure that you have that bridge to, and it's a vacuum, and how do you account for it in your story, and how do you continue making those bridges whenever possible?
You know, you've described this so well. I mean, it's almost like you're describing a little bit of a void because something or someone who are people who are very important to you, and you sort of grow up not thinking that you won't be right there with them. And it sounds like you described a mix of factors, both professional and personal, change that trajectory, and then how to sort of understand then what people in your new space or who's going to help you with that support, that love, that reassurance, all the things that families give.
It's as you were talking, I could not help but it's almost like a movie in my in my head right now about all the non-family members, but they really are family, right? It's my extended family of all those faces that provided me with support over all those years.
Mhm.
And you're right. It's you have to make sure that you're filling in that void because it is, right? So how is it that you're gonna have that extended family where you are now growing roots?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is in some ways, I'm thinking of my parents now. It is in some ways, it can sometimes build a very strong community because you're sort of creating family here, um, when you don't have
Yeah.
biological family.
hmm Yeah, it's right. It's that biological versus your extended family. And I think that for us, my personal situation for us, because the same thing was happening to my husband, because his family is also from Puerto Rico, and they're still there. And how is it that you navigate that across the years? So I hear you. I hear you.
So, so sort of, it sounds like that has been something that's been a challenge, figuring out how to, like you're saying, navigate that, find those people. As you've sort of thought about the course of your career, have there been other challenges? I know for a lot of women, work-life integration tends to be one. Has that been a challenge or anything else?
I think that my first challenge really is, as I've already said, it was that jumping into this new
Yeah.
culture, right?
Yep.
So that I think really was main at my early career.
Yep.
As I was, because now I'm not early career, even though sometimes I still think of myself, oh, I'm mid-career, early career. No, no, no. I'm already late career as I stand here.
Amazing how that happens.
I know, and I don't feel it. But I think the first thing is that because a lot of people ask me also about so where does APA as an organization fall? So APA became, and I joined the organization when I was a resident, and it was interesting how looking back, that became a family as well to me. And I've been a member for 30 plus years, and that was so instrumental to me. So that challenge of feeling kind of like not belonging, it's like, well, my family is not here. It's, it was first, my husband and me were here alone. But having that, and it was very fast. I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's organization and there's psychiatrists. Fantastic. Let me join. And that camaraderie, the collegiality, being able to serve in committees and just have that support there was so instrumental. So it did address that big challenge of feeling not part of something as I was coming in. So I think that was a challenge, and the APA was there for me to fill that need of belonging.
Well, I have a couple thoughts. One is, it sounds like you've sort of grown up within APA because you're describing residency, and here you are now,
Mhm.
later in your career as president, and it's touching, to think that you have sort of spent, I mean, I saw your resume, so pages and pages of roles within this organization. But as you're describing it, it's so much more than simply that. You're really describing, another family, or sense of belonging, having left Puerto Rico.
It's yes, resounding yes on that one. Um, I remember when I was a resident, and I remember that first meeting at the New Jersey Psychiatric Association, and it was it was very comforting to be there, and it was like whole days. It was a whole day. It was leadership. I remember that Dr. Block was there, Dr. Vora was there, and it's already the mentors that I already had secured within my residency. They were part of that, and having then, of course, other residents were there, which is great, but it was sitting there and having a whole day in which I was with others and in that community. And just, it was a feeling that never ceased to be very close and dear to me. I remember when I then, I had kids and I have pictures of me at the annual meeting with a carriage, and I had, when I became the fellow of the organization, I was pregnant with my second child. I was 2 weeks before my delivery date. It was in New York. So I was like, I am definitely attending. So I have these beautiful pictures of me about to deliver my second child, but I was at the annual meeting, and that's such a joy. Even today, thinking about it, it brings me a lot of joy. So to me, yes, the organization has been a place where I have met so many friends over the years, friends, mentors, sponsors. It has provided me with opportunities for honing in on leadership and doing things that I really don't think I would have been able to do if I had not been involved, because I did a lot of community work at the local level. Oh, that was one of the best things that I have ever done. Like, we had this Brain and Behavior Expo in the New Jersey Psychiatric Association. We did this for about, I don't know, 5 years. And we went to this beautiful place. It's Liberty Science Center. And we invited community kids. We had an arts, and so they would draw posters, and we would have other colleagues then do the competition. It was fantastic.
Sounds lovely. Why don't we
Yes,
do that?
it is. I did. So, and it was all done in community, and that has, again, it brings me a lot of joy. Even right now, it just brings me a lot of joy. And there's so many people that I remember dearly. Um, so yeah, and you know what? I still meet with some of them. I'm still very grateful and will always say thank you for what you have done, because you gave me so much and they were giving so much of themselves, right? Especially my own mentors.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm very grateful.
Now you are paying it forward to so many. Um, so at what point in your career did you think, I want to be APA president? Was there a moment? Was there an experience? Did you know ahead of time, or was it more recent? Like when did you think you wanted
So,
to do this?
so I did not. I did not. You know what and thinking about my progression within the organization, it was very gradual. I mean, I started, as I said, I started as a resident, and there was the opportunity to be the resident chapter representative, right? And I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'll run for that. And I became the chapter representative. And it again, it really resonated with me to be part of that process. So over years, I think I did everything at the New Jersey Psychiatric Association. I have been, the counselor, secretary, treasurer, vice president, president. And then the opportunity came to work within the assembly. So I was the New Jersey representative at the assembly. So this kind of progressed over the years. And back in 2015, I was approached, what about running for recorder of the assembly? So I ran and I became the recorder, then ran again, became speaker elect, and then I became back in 2016, I became the speaker elect for the assembly. And 2017, I was the speaker. And within a year, there was the opportunity to run as president. And it was at that time that when the opportunity knocked on my door, I said, I will definitely do that. I didn't win that year, but it really showed me another aspect of what we could do as psychiatrists for the organization and other opportunities. So it's like one door open another. So it wasn't like, oh, I want to do that. It was more as I'm working with this and other opportunities come in. So it kind of unfolded
Yeah,
in
it
that
sounds almost
way.
like a stepwise progression.
Yes. And it took years in the making.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is as I'm thinking back on my career within the organization, it really was one opportunity opened up and I took it and I enjoyed it, which was very critical for me. Is this going to bring me something? Because, these are volunteer positions and there has to be something that you're getting out of it as well in
Yeah.
order for this to work. And yeah, it worked for me. And, when I ran the second time, here I am.
And so, as you think about the past year as president, what have been some of the highlights for you?
For sure, 100% has been the opportunity to have that direct engagement with members in a grand scale. Over this past year, I have visited so many district branches. I have been invited to talk, grand rounds, and it has been an incredible honor. And that opportunity also to contribute to new initiatives. I mean, we just completed the strategic plan, which is something that I had put in my platform back when I ran my second time, because I thought that this is where the organization had to go. But being part of that initiative and partnering not only with our members within USA, but also international members, has been an absolute honor, pleasure, highlight of the past year.
And as you think back, what do you think has been your biggest area of growth?
I'd say, and this has been years in the making, but it's becoming more deliberate and thoughtful. I believe that what all of my work in an academic center with my patients, with my peers, everything has kind of worked to be more deliberate and just how is it that I use my time? How do I show up for like today? How do I show up? And it's that sense of it's not about me as much as it is of how I am in a space. And it's very generative for me. And I've had this conversation. So my kids are already grown, right? They're adults. And I've had that conversation with them and people that I mentor, especially early career or resident fellows. And it's you've come to a time in your life when it's about giving back. And it's a privilege to be able to do it. So I think that that's where I've had my biggest growth.
And it sounds almost like you're describing a mindful presence of simply sort of being in a space.
Which has been very difficult for me to do. I remember maybe about, I want to say about 10, 15 years ago. And I remember because it was a time in which I realized that it wasn't a race. Like sometimes, and that happened to me for a long time. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I'm in an academic career, so I have to do this, I have to do that. Where's my next project? Where's my next this? And so I was always next, 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 without actually kind of relaxing and breathing and just, it's okay to look at what you have done. pause. So it's a hard thing to do, especially when, and I think for women particularly, because there's so many things, right? There's so many roles that you're doing every day. You're doing so many things for so many people, and yeah, I wasn't good in doing that for many, many, many years, and it's just a very intentional thing that I struggle with it. So taking that pause to think and to listen to myself has been hard, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think for a lot of women who might be listening and are in their early career years, there is a lot of doing, right? You're setting yourself up professionally. It's often the years you also have small children. So there's a lot of doing in a lot of directions. We know that women still do more of the invisible work on top of their, you know, main jobs. They have these second shifts. And so it's easy to sort of get on this doing, doing, doing. And what you're describing is that pause and that simply being is different. And that mindfulness is so important, but you can get stuck in this, like going from thing to thing to thing.
It's very easy actually, because it's almost like a default, right? And even today when I know it, and I've been practicing this for so many years, if I am not like every day, it's like, okay, where am I? And I need to do my mindfulness. I have my apps to remind me to do this type of inner work and inner listening, which is I prefer that. I prefer it. So it's that listen to yourself. It's that inner listening. I like that. And I know it's hard. And this is something that I also discuss not only with my kids, but also with people that I mentor because it's hard to do.
Yeah, and if you think about the course of your career and kind of your roles and where you are now, if there is one habit you would tell your younger self to build, what would it be?
Taking time for yourself straight out. And that for me now is carving out time to do yoga specifically. So I have been doing this for about 2 years, 2.5 years almost. And that carving out time, because I used to do Zumba for many, many years, which I loved, and I still do. But that it's a different skill because I'm looking at it as a skill and it forces you to just slow down.
Yeah, I
And
mean, so the basis of yoga was
yeah.
really when it started 5,000 years ago in India. The basis was really that you did the yoga to sort of prepare your body for a seated meditation, right? So you're sort of getting your body and your mind ready
Yeah.
for the stillness that you were just speaking of.
Yeah. And that stillness. That to me personally is so hard. And that's why I'm really trying very hard to cultivate that. So yeah, that's something that I've been doing and I'm very grateful. I have a great yoga she doesn't like to be called teacher. But so she has been so instrumental. Anyway.
So, is there something unexpected or challenging in your career that ended up having a positive outcome for you?
A positive, unexpected with
Sometimes, sometimes we
uh,
sort of, we I think in medicine, things can
mm,
sometimes be very linear and very sort of, you know what the next step is. And I been hearing stories that just are so inspiring sometimes of unexpected turns, but when they happen, you think, oh no, this is happening, but really it leads to something wonderful. And I just didn't know if there was something challenging that
Interest.
actually led
Uh-huh.
to something positive.
So I can definitely think about when I switch from clinical work to administrative work. And that was unexpected. So
What made you switch?
how I stumbled, it was almost like a stumbling into it because I had been doing clinical work for many, many years in an academic center. And how I so I had just come back. Actually, I wasn't even back, but I was about to come back from maternity leave. And this opportunity came up of being the chief of an inpatient unit. And so I was like, oh, interesting. I had always done outpatient care and I had not thought about being unit chief of anything. And then this opportunity, I remember distinctly, it was about a month before I got back from maternity leave. And and I was like, oh, okay. Hey, it's an opportunity. It's different. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to try it for a year or two and see how that works out. Because up until that point, I really had been doing clinical and research. That was it. And go figure, I loved it. So it was one of those things that's why I'm saying I stumbled onto this administrative psychiatry, quote unquote, track. And one thing led to another. It's almost right, it's that progression, right, that we're talking. So my whole career, if there's something constant, is that I've progressed. It's one thing leads to another and another. And that's why one of the things that I do talk to people that I mentor over the years is that there are opportunities. Try it. If you don't like it, you then pivot to something else. But sometimes opportunities come in, and it's at those times when you say, you know what, I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a go. I personally, usually say, I'm going to give it a go. I'll try for a year or two and see what happens. And I have, many years, I have not once looked back and said, I should not have tried that because it's usually something good. So, yes, it was a positive outcome for sure.
Yeah. So you've had these administrative roles, you've had these leadership roles. What are your thoughts on, I mean, the world is innovating. You can't even keep up these days with how fast things are changing. As we think about psychiatry a decade out, what should we be thinking about? I mean, AI comes to mind quickly, but like what should we be thinking about in terms of our field?
For sure, AI. And it's mostly because it's already out there. And I think that for us in psychiatry, we should be at the forefront of ensuring that specifically for the individuals we serve is how is it that we're going to be protecting and providing guidelines on the ethical use of AI and respecting privacy, especially because of the population that we serve. So more than anything. But the other things that come to mind are precision psychiatry. How
Mhm.
is it that we're going to leverage the new technologies coming in on how to be sure that we are utilizing the resources as best as we can to advance evidence-based precision psychiatry. And the other thing that I have been championing for the past year is collaborative care. I truly believe that that is not only an immediate workforce multiplier, but that is where we have to be. This is the space where we have to be because the majority of people will need to have better access to psychiatric care. We know that post-pandemic, the demand for our services has only increased.
Yeah.
And that particular type of integrated care with collaborative care model is the one that we as an organization and me personally have been championing. And it's mostly because it is a really good use of our resources. It will improve access to the patients that really need us. And it's already a paradigm shift, but I think that where people get caught up is that they believe that it's the only path forward for psychiatry. It's one path forward. And this would be what we need to do for people, especially with mild to moderate psychiatric conditions, especially when they prefer to be seen in a primary care, they're more used to be seen in a primary care. And but not forget that we also have to continue to advance better services for people diagnosed with severe psychiatric disorders. So I think that it is a combination of leveraging technology, better utilizing resources, and not forgetting the population that we serve to make sure that we are then providing the gamut of services needed.
As you think of this last year, you mentioned the collaborative care model. What have been some of the highlights that you sort of have loved being a part of in this capacity?
Bringing this information to the international organizations. I've had the opportunity to bring this message about how is it that we're going to leverage collaborative care specifically. And I had the honor of working also with from Washington University with Anna Ratzleff, and she has been a pleasure to work with. And learning it from the team that actually got it is so well, it's a really good training to work with her. But having that particular message, and that we as an organization are going to be able to also work with inter-organizational and especially international to bring forth the fact that as psychiatry, as a profession, that we also have the responsibility to bring the message that for governments in general, that you have to include mental health in any type of proposition that you do. It is, in the United States, it is not a partisan issue. Mental health is something that is for anybody, that you have to make sure that you're including in your financial propositions. How is it that we are going to be able to make sure that the resources are available, the access is available, that we continue to normalize seeking care for mental health, decreasing that stigma, and ensuring that we are getting paid for the work that we do when we do it. So it's a combination of things at the end of the day, and this is where I think we all are together with this, that there is no health without mental health. And how is it that we're going to be advancing this to normalize, decrease stigma, and ensure access to those that need us?
Yes, I could talk to you about this for much longer.
Yes,
But looks
me
like
too.
we are
Me
out
too.
of time. As we finish up, any last thoughts, pearls of wisdom, things you would?
And I know that for this particular type of interaction, and as I've heard some of the other, some of your other sessions, um, I've learned so much through this particular way in which you can interview people, and they're bringing their pearls of wisdom. And my pearl of wisdom is listen to yourself. And at times it's just that listening. Remember how we were talking about that listening to yourself, and take the time to listen to yourself. More than anything, figure out where is it that you want to go. Figure out your path and be kind to yourself.
Thank you. Those are Great words to end on. Thank you so much, Theresa, for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you, Angelia. I really appreciate the opportunity. Take care. See you soon. See you in the annual meeting.
Yeah, see you in May.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual speakers only and do not necessarily represent the views of the American Psychiatric Association. The content of this podcast is provided for general information purposes only and does not offer medical or any other type of professional advice. If you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local emergency response number.